With that, please welcome Jamie Reeve, Senior Vice President, Wealth Strategist at Northern Trust, to introduce our speaker.
Good morning, everyone, and happy Fat Tuesday. Holy smokes. I'm really excited to introduce today's speaker, Brian Adam, President and owner of Olympus Group. And I'm kind of thinking this would be the first in an installation of what we're considering made in Milwaukee. So look for more to come. But as I think about Brian, he's going to share a lot about his company, his history, and his leadership. But I think it's interesting that he was Bucky Badger. Back in the 90s, there was a Heisman-winning running back at Wisconsin named Ron Dane. He scored a lot of touchdowns. That meant Bucky had to do a ton of push-ups. So he's got some biceps, some triceps. But also, as I think about it in all sincerity, being a mascot has a lot of metaphorical and business-related preparations. Think about it. He toils anonymously, sweating his you-know-what off in Pasadena for hours before and after during the games, right? It's not about him. It's about his team. It's about pride. Certainly, he's an identifiable icon, but he's representing an institution. Similarly, now at Olympus, he's taking those applications and growing the heck out of his business. So what started as a very humble, patriotic flag business, you'll learn, has grown into a dynamic company who you've never heard about, but who now you're going to see everywhere you look. So ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Brian Adam to the stage.
Well, that was humbling. So thanks. I appreciate the opportunity to share a litlittle bit about our company's 120-year history. I have two kind of parts to this presentation. The first part is the history of the company. So I'm going to talk about Olympus, who we are, and hopefully share some insights in this Milwaukee-based business with you. And then the second part is my very, very biased take on what makes Olympus special and slightly different. And that's something I'm obsessed with, and that is corporate culture and employee engagement. I'm going to go kind of quick, so I apologize. I talk fast, but hopefully that keeps your attention. Olympus Group. So what are we? We're a large format custom printer and sewer, meaning we print big banners and signage. So really, really big graphics. As mentioned, we started we were founded in 1893, and this was our primary product. For about 100 years, we primarily made U.S. flags. About 250 employees. We now have production facilities here in Milwaukee, which is where our headquarters is. We also have facilities in Orlando, Denver, Nashville, and Vegas. And I don't have a big ego, but probably the coolest accolades I've ever received. Getting cheered on at Camp Randall was fun, but Glassdoor recognized us in 2017 as one of the top 25 places to work at in the United States. It wasn't something we applied for. It was just based off of our Glassdoor reviews. So when I get to corporate culture, hopefully that adds just a little credibility to what I'm going to share. My background, I was born and raised in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, graduated Nicolay High School, went to UW-Madison. Right now I live in Whitefish Bay with my family, my wife and my children, Chase. That's Chase on the right and Maya on the left, so 10 and 6. This would be my claim to fame, is I was Bucky from 1998 till 2001, so during the Ron Dane era. And my 15 minutes of fame I ruined on this. As Bucky Badger, we were playing Michigan State, we were crushing them. I decided, mascots are known to have some fun antics. I stole that cheerleader flag right there, ran down and threw it in our end zone and stomped on it. And this Michigan State cheerleader took exception to it and just flattened me. Form tackle. It was in USA Today. It was on ESPN. You used to be able on YouTube, if you would put Bucky Badger gets owned into the search, a video would pop up of me getting pummeled by this cheerleader. So the funny part is I actually sold Michigan State that cheerleader flag about 8 years later, a new one, because we make giant flags. So it all comes around. So our business has a couple different segments to it. Custom printing, where we print big graphics. Mascot costumes. So this is probably the most unique part about Olympus. We are the largest producer of mascots in the U.S. We make those all here in Milwaukee. Everything from the racing sausages to Bucky Badger. We manufacture U.S. flags. So if you were to walk into Menards, you'd see an Olympus U.S. flag product. If you drive up by Acuity in Sheboygan, the largest free-flying flag in the U.S. is something we manufacture. Weighs about 220 pounds. Each star is 4.5 feet tall. I mean, the thing is massive. And then we do some graphic design. We have a creative team that designs everything from billboards to POP. So I'll kind of fly through these slides a little quickly, but this gives you a sampling of what we print and sell. We print a lot of graphics for trade shows. So this big Coors graphics, a fabric graphic. This is stuff you'd see at different types of events. We do quite a bit in the sports and event space. So whenever there's a championship in Milwaukee, we not only, if the Bucks or Brewers lose, not only do we have the heartbreak of our local team losing, but we also have the heartbreak of losing out on a significant amount of revenue, because when the teams are successful, they tend to print a little more, which is really nice for us. This kind of shows the giant graphic that was outside the Fiserv Forum in production. They changed where it says history in the making, that middle slide. They wanted to change it to history made if they won. So our team had it all printed. We had all the Bucks and Six stuff. It was a bad omen because I walked in production and before game 6, we have all the Bucks and Six stuff printed and sitting on our floor. So I'm like, uh-oh, this is really bad karma. But they ended up winning. And then over in the middle of the night, our team went up there and changed the graphic on the outside that said history in the making to history made. So the next morning for the parade, you had this big, cool window graphic that was up there. So typical projects that we do. We acquired a company in Las Vegas called Screaming Images. These guys do similar stuff out in Vegas. So we do all the graphics on the outsides of the casinos. This slide right, the picture in the lower left is our team rappelling down a casino to install graphics on like the 40th floor of the MGM building. So they actually put on a harness, rappel down, and put these giant, essentially stickers, like the ones you'd see on the picture on the left, on the sides of the building. So we kind of do some unique, fun things. We do quite a bit in the entertainment space. So we print graphics for Disney, amusement parks, cruise ships, a little bit of POP printing, so retail POP. And then we make all sorts of fun, crazy mascot costumes, including our favorites, Bucky's our favorite. Second favorite, the racing sausages in Milwaukee. And then I mentioned the US flag products. That's a picture of the cutie flag and what kind of our flag kits would look like at Menards. So a little bit on the history. I mentioned the company was founded in 1893. So we are very, very old. We made flags for our first 100 years. We made the first Ronald McDonald costume ever. We were doing apparel for McDonald's back in the 60s, and they asked us to make a clown suit. That picture, the scary clown, is a picture of the first Ronald McDonald. That is Willard Scott, the weather guy. So he was an actor, and he was actually one of the first Ronald McDonalds. So there's your trivia question that you guys can answer, is Willard Scott was a Ronald. We changed our name to Olympus Group in 1994. The way I got involved is my father bought this business in 1991. What happened in 1991 is the company was on the brink of bankruptcy. Whenever there's a war crisis, so after September 11th, people get really patriotic and buy lots and lots of US flags. Not like 20% more, but 5 to 6x the amount of flags you buy in a normal year. Well, what happened in 91 was the first Gulf War, Desert Storm with Schwarzkopf and Powell. And we had orders from Menards and Home Depot and all of our customers for millions of dollars of flags. That first Gulf War back in 91 ended in about 60 to 90 days, and all the retailers canceled the orders. So the company got stuck with all these grease goods, whip, finished product that they weren't going to sell. But it's not like it's going to go bad. I mean, these flags, they're in boxes, they're packed, they'd last years. So my father came in, bought the business, turned it around, ran it till about 2000, and then left the business. Classic family business move. He hired his best friend to run the business. Business kind of didn't grow. It was still primarily a flag company at the time, and approached me in 2005 and said, "Hey, Brian, do you have any interest in buying this flag company?" So I bought it from him in 2005. I had absolutely no idea what I was doing. I was in way over my skis. I didn't know manufacturing. I didn't know printing. I liked people. I'm an extrovert. So that'll get into the employee engagement kind of corporate culture piece. So I just focused on the people, tried to build relationships with the people. The other thing I did in 2008 was I did a couple of acquisitions. So I bought 2 local companies, Holzhauer Graphics and ACS Marketing, and I bought a company called Ross and Associates. And while the flag and the US flags are cool, it's a really patriotic product, something we still make today and I take a ton of pride in. It's also a commodity. Nice part about the US flag is it's a commodity that has to be domestically manufactured, but it's a commodity nonetheless. What I tried to do is grow into the highly customized kind of unique one-off. So instead of doing big runs of low margin items. I said, hey, I want to do that graphic for the Bucks. They're getting one of those, and they're not going to get it from an overseas source. They're going to buy it from somebody really local. So we focused on really local, on trade shows, events, sports teams, and events to try to add some value. Opened our first remote manufacturing facility in 2011. We opened a facility in Orlando, Florida to service Disney and the trade show market down there. What was happening was lead times were compressing. Now Amazon has completely crushed lead times. Everyone expects everything tomorrow, which we're okay with. But to produce graphics fast, I needed to be local. So we opened a local production facility in Orlando. Business did well. We kept growing. We opened a facility in Denver in 2018. We were all excited. We're like, oh, we got this model down. We have the corporate headquarters here in Milwaukee. We'll have these local print facilities throughout the US. And then about 2 years ago, COVID happened. Well, as a company that's producing graphics for trade shows, events, sports teams, and amusement parks, our market's just shut. Everything was shut. What was nice with our team is used to, because the markets we exist in, moving really, really fast. So we moved really, really quickly when COVID hit. And so these were the live events 2 years ago. Everything we worked for, the NBA teams, March Madness, we print a bunch of graphics for, movie theaters, trade shows, everything basically shut. So my college roommate, he was like the smart one of us for 3 years at Madison, is Dr. Michael Stadler. He's the chief medical officer at Freighter. And he called me up like early March before everything was shut down and said, Brian, we really need PPE. Can you make it? I'm like, I don't even know what PPE really is, but like, I'll do anything. Like, our markets are going to shut. So he sent us, he had us meet with the director of infectious disease, Dr. Munoz at Freighter, on a Thursday. And Dr. Munoz is like, the thing I need the most is I need plastic face shields. I'm like, well, we've never made medical products before. What are these? And he said, it needs to be a physical barrier. Doesn't matter what type of plastic. Nothing matters. Just a barrier that covers our face. We will take anything. So our team was used to responding fast. We had a prototype done in 4 hours, drove it back down to her. She said, great, produce as many as you can. We didn't talk about price. We didn't talk about medical testing. It was just crank these out. We ended up producing about 500,000 of these plastic face shields for Freighter, Children's, Aurora, and Ascension. Then the CDC came out and said you should wear face masks. Well, I'm like, oh, these are like little fabric banners. We can print and sew these. We ended up doing about 500,000 fabric face masks. Again, had no idea what we were doing. We're engineering it on the fly. We had an order from the Orlando City Police Department for 5,000 face masks. We're like, okay, we can make these. And supply chains were a mess. We could not find elastic to go around the back of your head to save our lives. Finally, we sourced some elastic. We found it. They're like, it's pink elastic. We're like, oh, okay, no problem. We'll take whatever we can get. Told the Orlando City Police Department, only elastic we can get is pink. They're like, it's fine, we need a barrier. The pink elastic was pink lacy elastic that was used in women's undergarments. And we showed it to them. The Orlando City Police Department said, we'll take it. So they're, I'm picturing like this big bad cop in Orlando chasing down a bad guy with like essentially women's panty straps around the back of his head attaching his face mask. So it was certainly an interesting time. Then came the COVID signage. We did 50,000 cutouts for the Brewers, Reds, and the Rockies when fans couldn't come to the games. We tried to use our equipment to do anything and keep our staff busy. And then we launched, when schools came back, we launched a nonprofit called Face Masks for Funds, which we printed face masks for kids with the school's logo on it as a fundraiser for schools at no cost. We were doing anything we could to keep the doors open, along with some very generous PPP funding. We left COVID with most of our employees still on board with some financial flexibility. And what that allowed us to do is now position ourselves for the next, hopefully 5 to 10 years. So we took a chance and believed that the live events are going to come back, that people's desires to meet face-to-face kind of innate. So we've invested in 2 new facilities. We opened a facility in Nashville, greenfielded it, so started from scratch this summer. And then I bought that company in Las Vegas that I mentioned earlier. We closed at year end. So today we have about 250 employees, 5 production facilities, Orlando, Denver, Nashville, and Las Vegas, and then a graphic design agency that's a part of our team in Grand Rapids, Michigan. This is something I take a ton of pride in. When I bought the business, we were about a $10 million business. We've grown about a $35 million business. You can see the impact COVID had on our business. And then our projected growth is we should be about a $45 million business this year. I take a lot of pride in this, not because of myself. Like, I don't actually do anything. I can stand up and speak and meet with our employees. Like, our employees did all the work. But to me, what this meant was they just out-executed our competitors. They did a better job than our competition. Our markets aren't growing, so they've really crushed it and done a really, really nice job. And then hopefully, as I get into the second part of this presentation, this adds a little bit of credibility about what I'm going to share. So, as I mentioned earlier, I believe like our secret sauce, but what's made us successful is our employee engagement, our corporate culture. So what I'm going to share here is just a couple of tips, best practices, things we've learned, and hopefully you guys can take away something and share it with your networks, with your team, with your employees, and I don't know, make it a better place to work. So I'm obsessed with corporate culture. I'm obsessed with corporate culture because engaged employees who care about their job, do better work. There's all sorts of data out there that talks about the benefits of employee engagement, how employees are more effective when they care about what they do. This one's kind of crazy. They're 3 times more creative. So even if you're in a creative industry, employees, if they care about what they do, they're going to be better than employees who don't care. And a lot of employees right now don't care about what they do. The really scary part is right now, those employees who don't care can walk out that door and get another job. The labor market is really, really tough right now. So I am hell-bent on retaining the employees we have and trying to create a rewarding culture for them. Peter Drucker said, culture eats strategy for breakfast. He's smarter than I am, so I'm buying what he's selling. So this is my really, we have creative people that work for me. I'm not creative, so this is my PowerPoint chart that I could have had an artist make really pretty. But to me, it's kind of this simple, self-fulfilling cycle. If you have engaged team members that care, you're going to outperform your competitors. If you're outperforming your competitors, what does that mean? Well, that means you're going to have a bigger return. You're going to make more money. You're going to grow. If you're growing and you're more profitable, you can make it more rewarding for your team members through advancement, through bonoses. Well, if you're giving them more bonuses and opportunities for advancement, they'll be more engaged. And it's just, for us, it's been this nice, this prophecy. So, example of what we try to do. This is Eric Clay. He's one of my digital press operators. Been with us for 20 years. Boomerang employee. We have about 25 what I call boomerang employees, meaning they worked for us, left, and then came back. I love boomerang employees because they know what they're getting back into when they come back. Eric does something really cool in the inner city every single year. He pulls together different communities and he loves to cook and throws a giant barbecue for different communities in the inner city. I went up to Eric one day, I found out that he was doing this. I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. How long have you been doing this? It's like a couple of years. I just gave him $100 cash. Like, just here, buy some food. I'll pay for a little bit of the food. His eyes lit up. He came back the next day, showed me all these pictures of what he was doing and the different communities and the sense of pride he took in there. Eric cares. I showed Eric I care. Not a big deal. I just said, well, I'll buy some groceries for you. He's going to be a little more engaged and care a little bit more. Piece of our culture, I wrote a book on corporate culture. It's called Rules of Engagement. It's a very poorly written book because I'm not a very good writer, but it tells a cool story about Olympus. I think if you look there, it's made it up to the 2,954,000 bestseller list on Amazon. So I'm sure you guys have all heard of this. Anyways, I'm just sharing that. Like we shared our story. I try to tell Eric's story and our employees' story because I think it's important, and I think I care about our employees. So a couple tips. How do we create high levels of employee engagement? How do we get this Glassdoor award? First one is you got to create a noble mission. So today, in society today, especially younger generations, millennials, Gen Zers, they don't want to work just for a company. They want to work for something greater than just making a profit. So you need to create something that is meaningful to them. When I took over Olympus, this was our mission statement: Olympus flag and banner. Prints, sews, designs, and assembles quality products, which includes flags, banners, and promotional costumes or mascots, adapting its manufacturing process to meet the changing needs of a broad customer base while offering the team a respectful environment which the individual may grow and prosper. It was true, but it's not. No one's signing up to say, "Man, I really want to work for that company." That's someone that's going to really create a rewarding work environment for me. So we changed it. I said our mission, our core purpose right now is I want to create a rewarding work environment for our team. That's it. And to me, a rewarding work environment is, I don't care where you work. I don't care if you work at Starbucks, if you're a professional athlete, if you work at Olympus. If you can do these 4 things, people will say they have a good job. So if people can leave at the end of the day, every single day, and say, man, I'm proud of what I do and where I work. I have a sense of pride in what I'm doing. 2, if they're paid a fair wage and given an opportunity to earn more and given meaningful benefits. 3, they can work in a safe and comfortable environment. And 4, they're challenged and empowered to grow. If you can do those 4 things, people will be happy. People are happy and engaged. I've already said they're going to do a better job. This is my buddy Jorge. He's one of our seamstresses. He's been with us for about 10 years. And the way you engage employees is you connect with them. So I know Jorge well. Jorge's daughter was hit a nice year. We share our profits with our employees. Got to pay Jorge a nice big bonus. Jorge came back the next day with like tears in his eyes, so proud, next week, and showed me what he'd rented. He'd rented this big house, bringing his whole family together for his daughter's quinceañera. I mean, sense of pride in what he was doing. His daughter is going to go to college. I think he's going to be the first member of her family to go to college. Really cool. Jorge, again, got tears in his eyes. We give a small scholarship program away. Get to give it to someone like his daughter to help them get better. I can guarantee you by doing those little things and connecting with Jorge cares a little bit more about what he's doing. And when Jorge is sewing a big banner, I'm 100% confident he cares a lot more about that banner and his job than a seamstress at a competitor who doesn't care. So how do you create your mission? A simple question that you can ask your employees is, other than a paycheck, why do you work here? Find out from them. Find out why they're working there. They'll give you the answer for what makes your company special. Make sure anytime you create a mission statement, it's got to stand the test of time. It's got to be meaningful. And then I'm a huge fan of, I'm not that smart. I'm really good at cherry picking ideas from others. Almost everything I've created at Olympus, I've cherry picked from articles I've read from other intelligent business people. So spend some time on Google and look some stuff up. One of the most impactful things we did was we created a deck or an overview of our corporate culture. And I cherry picked this completely from Netflix, from Patty McCord. Patty McCord, if you want to look it up, Google Patty McCord Netflix. She put together this deck on freedom and responsibility and their culture at Netflix. It was pretty powerful. I loved it. So what we did was we created our own culture deck. When I hire an employee, I sit down with them and I walk them through, hey, this is the Olympus culture. This is what's important to us. This is what's meaningful to us. We're not perfect. It's a bit aspirational. But at least then we've created some alignment on where we're headed and where we're going. And I walk through them individually. So if I hire an employee in Denver, when I meet that employee in Denver or that employee in Vegas, I sit down one-on-one with them and I walk them through this. If they don't speak English or aren't comfortable in English, I have one of my employees who's bilingual translate it, because I think it's really, really important for our entire team to be aligned on what we're trying to accomplish. So a couple things from this is just some snippets from it. I tell our employees, hey, we don't have any patents, trade secrets, or special technology. The only way we win is by being more responsive and preventing external rejects. If we don't want to compete on price, we need to move really, really, really fast. And I share this because I want our employees to be bought into the fact that we got to come in sometimes on a Saturday. We got to stay late. We got to crank stuff out. And if we can do that, our customers will pay a premium and we won't be competing on price. I tell our employees we're a team, not a family. And I love them like family. I treat them like family members, but I tell them we're a team because in a family, you treat people equally. And in a team, you reward your top performers and replace mediocre ones. I got 2 kids. I spend the exact same amount on each kid for Christmas. If I have a superstar and a poor performer, I better not give them the same bonus and the same raise, or that superstar's out of here. So I like the team analogy. I tell them hard work's important, but results are more important. Our customers don't care how long it takes us to do something. They just want it done and want it done right. And I made this mistake. When I first took over Olympus, I would recognize the people that worked the most overtime. I'd give them awards, and I should pat them on the back for putting in the hours. Why it was a mistake is this is Quay. She's one of the fastest seamstresses we have. We were doing these projects, these pillows for Serta, these custom POP pillows, and I was rewarding other employees, actually giving them like little spot bonuses and publicly recognizing them for putting in tons of hours. Quay was getting 2x the work done in less hours. Well, at the end of the day, I should thank the people for putting the time, but Quay's the one I learned that Quay's the one I have to reward. We try to hire responsible people. We try to hire people that never feel like it's not my job, behave like an owner, focus on what it takes to get it right, not who's at fault. We tell our employees it's okay to make a mistake. We want to learn from mistakes. So anyways, those are just a couple of snippets of like our culture deck. To me, the most important part is just for a company, for me, articulating that culture to an employee on day one and making them feel like they're part of the team is absolutely critical. First impressions. So especially in this job market, there are a lot of opportunities out there for people. And if you think about the typical first day on the job, this is a typical first day at where an employee works. So employee shows up at the office. Usually they walk in the receptionist. They have no idea where to go, and the receptionist has no idea who they are. Employee sits in the corner and usually fills out, we got a whole bunch of paperwork for you to fill out with HR. So they go fill out a bunch of paperwork for HR. They're all excited. Their new boss is too busy to talk to them. Employees go out to lunch by themselves. They fill out more paperwork. There's no phone, there's no cards, there's no computer access. They're all set up later. And then at 5 p.m., the employee stays late to try and impress someone. No one's there. They go home. They talk to their spouse, and they're like, "How was your first day?" "Oh, it was okay." It's so easy to make this more impactful on the first day and connect with someone your first day. So we tell the employee to show up late. We're like, show up. They start at 8, show up at 8:15. And we try to have the manager waiting for them at the door. Manager greets them at the door, welcomes to them. They bring them to a desk. I want that desk fully set up. I want their business cards there. I want the computer set up, the phone set up. I meet with them. I try to meet with them on their first day. I always meet with them their first week and walk them through our culture deck and explain a little bit about our company history and our company culture. I want to connect with them. Manager takes the employee for a tour of the facility, walks them around, introduces them to every single employee at that facility. And then we have the coworkers take them out to lunch. Not that big of a change, but you can imagine the impact. Now this employee goes home that first day and they're like, oh, okay, this is a pretty cool job. And then we try to make a big deal of it. We try to spotlight it. We try to make an announcement on our loudspeaker. Hey, we got a new employee, make sure you say hi. We put something in our newsletter. We send out an email blast. All of that's easy, doesn't take a whole lot of time, but it makes that new employee feel special. Important part of employee culture for us is listening. A lot of managers don't like to hear complaints and gripes. I tell our employees when I hire them, I want you to complain to me. I want to hear what you don't like about here. I want to hear your suggestions. I want to hear your feedback. And I tell them, we may not agree on it, but I want you to feel comfortable articulating it to me and sharing those gripes with me. So 59% of workers say they often see problems the company's management is not aware of. So that's an opportunity for us to improve as an organization. We had a suggestion box in 2012. It was my suggestion box. I put it in back. I got one suggestion over the course of that entire year, and it was to get 2-ply toilet paper instead of single-ply, which we invested in. So then I totally cherry-picked this off of an HBR article, but I developed this program called the Hey Brian program. I told my employees I'm going to pay you for your suggestions. Every other week, I'm going to go away $40 cash just for making a suggestion. Pull a random suggestion out. You can drop it in the box. You can email me. You can email HR. You can text me, and I will keep track of all of the suggestions. And then I'll pay out I'll pay you for your feedback. Dave Person, press operator, he's been with us about 15 years, runs one of our big digital presses, had a great suggestion on changing out some ink, saved us about $10,000 a year. End of the year, I gave Dave a $500 reward and recognized him. He's pumped. We're saving a bunch of money, and probably more importantly, someone like Dave feels like he's engaged and has a voice. We post all the suggestions in our newsletter. When we finish them, I tell them if we completed them or if we decided not to put an ice skating rink outside of our facility, which was one of the suggestions due to liability purposes. I also explained that. I post them in my lunchroom in Milwaukee. So this is a picture of our lunchroom with the suggestions and us as we complete them. One of the other things that I think is kind of silly that businesses do is they do this thing called an exit interview. So when someone's leaving the organization, you ask them why they leave. Well, it's already, at that point, it's too late. They left. Still good feedback, but why not do the exit interview with your employees that are still working for you? So some people call these stay interviews. So we do stay interviews. I meet with an employee on their 1-year anniversary. I figure that's enough time to have some gripes and what you don't like. And then I ask them, hey, what do you like about working here? What don't you? And I actually do an exit interview with the employee on their 1-year anniversary. When we acquired that company in Vegas, there were 45 employees. I spent 3 days out there and sat down with every single employee and did this. And I got some great feedback. We'll do lunches, round tables. In general, I just want to solicit feedback. I want our employees to speak up. And I want them to know that their voice matters. Communication. So this is another very, very important piece. This is a quote I read once. I wish my company communicated less with me. They keep sharing useful information all the time, and I want them to stop it. I attribute this to no one ever, because no one would ever say this. Most people, when you talk to organizations, they want to know more. So I believe one of my jobs, and I don't know how to print, I don't know how to do anything at Olympus, is to communicate with their team. So I send updates every single Monday morning, company updates, where I'll talk about what's going on, I'll talk about cool projects, I'll share inspirational things like square watermelons, where someone was really creative to shrink down on shipping costs. So just anything that might be on our mind. When COVID was happening, I was sending out emails to the entire company twice a day at the beginning, because just stuff was happening so fast and furious. And if you don't know, the nice thing is you tell them you don't know. Like, hey guys, I have no idea what's going to happen, but here's what we're going to do today. And here's what we're doing tomorrow. So the key would be over communicating. We share handwritten notes, and we share our strategic plans. So we practice a process called EOS. It's from this book called Traction, kind of a way of running your business. I share our strategic plan with our entire single organization. I translate this into Spanish. I give it to every employee. I present it to small groups, but they know exactly what's going on. When we make money, I show them we made money, and I tell them exactly what we spend it on. I'm completely transparent with this. I think this is extremely important, because if I don't show them what we actually spent the money on, this is what they think we spent the money on. They think the owner's going to buy a boat. We share newsletters. We translate these into Spanish and Hmong. But my point would be I want them to have tons of information from all different types of sources. I think there was a speaker I heard once, a public speaking expert, that said people remember things when they hear it 7 times. So if you've repeated it 4 times to somebody, be really happy. You're more than halfway there. You only got to repeat it 3 more times for them to actually remember. We spend time teaching our employees that profit's not a dirty word. So Jack Stack, good book called The Great Game of Business, like kind of the gamification of business, how to teach your employees how to look at metrics and look at numbers. I sit down in my orientation, I actually show our employees and walk them through how we actually make money and how much money we actually make. To me, this is important because I'll ask employees, when I ask them, okay, if we sell a banner for $100, how much do you think we make profit after all of our expenses? And they'll usually say $20, $50. And when I tell them, like, net margin, it's not a high margin industry, it's about 5%. They're like, oh, we only make $5. I'm like, yeah, so our margin for error is thin. But it kind of helps to walk them through and explain how we make money. And to me, it's important because we share our profits with our employees. So I give 20% of our profits back to our employees as part of a profit sharing plan. I tell them the more money we make, the more money you get. Increases buy-in. Then they're talking about reducing scrap or coming in on a weekend. It's not just that a salesperson makes extra commission or Brian goes and buys a boat. It's, there's something in it for everybody. Appreciation. The number one reason people leave jobs right now isn't for money. It's still because they feel underappreciated or because of their manager. So appreciation matters. Here's some stats on sports teams. Home teams win more. Well, what's home field advantage? The basketball court's the same size. The hoop's the same size. Well, those players, part of it, you got a crowd noise. Those basketball players get all excited at Fiserv when the crowd gets excited. That's appreciation. That's fans cheering for their home team. Appreciation works. So these are just some stats on why people are leaving. Michael Scott, famous guy from The Office, once said, people ask me, would you rather be feared or loved? And he says, easy. I want people to be afraid of how much they love me. I like that quote. So show your appreciation. Make people be afraid of how much to love you. Some of it's easy. Handwritten thank you notes. This is probably the easiest thing in the world. When you buy a stack of notes, write 2 thank you notes a week and give them to friends, to customers, to employees. I walk by and I'm amazed when a note that took me 1 minute to write that I wrote to an employee for doing something special will be up in their cubicle for 2-3 years. It's free. It's easy. Pick up the phone. Whenever I drive, I try to pick up and call my employees. We got an employee, Jimmy, in Orlando. Really, really good guy. He worked for another printer for 25 years. I did my orientation with him, and then I was driving. I'm like, I'll give Jimmy a call. So I called him 3 weeks later. He started crying on the phone. This 55-year-old man is crying. I'm like, what's wrong? Why are you crying, Jimmy? He's like, I was working at another printer, and the owner didn't even know my name and didn't talk to me for 25 years. You've met with me for an hour, and now you're picking up the phone and calling me just to check in and see how things are going. That phone call took 2 minutes. That's it. Pretty easy. Didn't cost me a thing. Promotions. We give away a bottle of champagne whenever anyone's promoted. Why do you give away a bottle of champagne? Well, what do people do with that bottle? This bottle of Cooks costs $5, but you go get a $10 bottle of champagne. That person's going to take it home when they get promoted. They're going to open it with their friends or their family, and they're going to celebrate. They're going to talk about I got promoted, and share that story and their story with their team members. So another easy thing that we do. We try to focus on little things. I handwrite birthday cards, and we send every employee's kids $10 on their birthday. And you can imagine the shock when a 7-year-old, whose dad joins Olympus, and on their birthday they get a birthday card from their dad or mom's place of employment with $10 in it. Graduation gifts, birthday gifts. We'll do some free lunches. Just lots of little things. So our goal is to try to create engaged team members. I think it's worked for us for at least since I took over in 2004. It's helped us grow. It's allowed us to outperform the market, allowed us to be more successful and make more money. I share that money with my team members. When you're sharing that money with your team members and giving them opportunities to move up and advance, they're going to become more engaged, and it become this nice little self-fulfilling circle. So Walt Disney, I like this quote, Disney's one of our biggest customers. The way to get started is to quit talking and begin doing. I like doing, so I'm hoping those of you that are working can go back and take a tip or 2 back to your place of employment and improve your culture. So.
Hey, Brian, first-time caller, long-time listener, Jamie here. Thank you very much for those words of wisdom and inspiration. I can tell you I've worked at the same employer for 25 years, and we do all the same stuff.
Good.
A reminder, we're going to have the ruggedly handsome and lovely and talented assistants. you can determine who is who. Karen and Matt, if you could pass around we're going to have a raffle here. So if you've got a business card or a $20 bill, Kathy Eilers, put it in there. Quick question. With all the inspiration there, what do you view to be the biggest obstacle or opportunity for growth here for your company going forward?
Yeah, I mean, for us right now, the biggest challenge, so we do a great job of retaining the talent we have. We didn't lose a lot of people during COVID because of what we do with employee engagement. It's still right now finding talented labor and finding seamstresses. I mean, seamstresses, these big fabric graphics we make require a lot of sewing. These flags require a lot of sewing. It's really, really hard to find sewers right now. And the biggest challenge for us to grow and scale would be to find, and be able to recruit a whole bunch of employees. The job market's just tough. So mascots range in price. Like the very, very cheapest mascot might be $8,000 or $9,000. They're completely handmade. So it takes hundreds of hours of manual labor. The material cost isn't much, but if you were to walk into our mascot department, it would be hot glue guns. I'm supposed to repeat the question. He wanted to know how much a mascot cost. So about $5,000 would be the average. But if you walk into production, it's hot glue guns, it's scissors, it's airbrushes. I mean, these are artists that are making all of these costumes. The Bucky Badger, there's no machine to make it. It is handmade.
So Brian, thanks for your presentation. I have two very important questions. One, as you grow, how are you doing this for your different offices? Because you're obviously, despite your protests, a great idea guy. How do you translate this for all your other new acquisitions?
Yeah.
Number two, have you kept up with your push-ups?
So he wants to know first so I'll start with the second question. Have I kept up with the push-ups? So here's a little secret. Bucky's nose sticks out to here. So the push-ups are like, you're doing half push-ups, and the student section likes to drink. So you can kind of sway a little and kind of trick the students. So no, I haven't kept up with my push-ups, but they're easier than they look. How do I guess with the remote facilities, how do you maintain that culture across different facilities? I mean, the tough part is I just travel a ton. I need to be there. Setting up we'll do net meetings where if I'm not going to be in Florida for a couple of weeks, I'll meet with those new employees virtually and try to connect with them. But it's really spending the time connecting with them locally, and then making sure that your managers and your leads and the executives at those facilities are also the right people and aligned with what we're trying to do with our corporate culture. But it's not easy. Just a lot of time on the road.
Obviously, the world's become very global, and you change from manufacturing flags, which was sort of commodities, and diversifying into these really unique products. But even in that global world, the supply chain issues has really crippled a lot of businesses in the last year. And so it's meant often sort of keeping more inventory or other things to manage those supply chain shortages. So can you sort of address what you're doing right now in terms of supply chain and how that's changed how you've operated?
Yeah, so we were certainly impacted by the supply chains. Our raw materials, some of them are manufactured. I mean, it helps that we're a domestic manufacturer, so we're not importing a whole lot of finished goods. I mean, we will import some raw vinyls and raw fabrics to print on. Some of those are actually milled in the U.S. And manufactured here, which has helped us. There are some materials that we knew were critical, and maybe a year ago, we knew the supply chains were a mess. So what we said is, all right, here are the materials that are critical. We also, because of what our team did during COVID, we felt we were in a better financial position than a lot of our competitors. We had more flexibility. So we said, all right, what materials can't we run out of? And we took about a 9-month inventory position on those materials about a year ago. So for us, we said, hey, if the supply chains bust and a blackback software, which is something like this, but really big in trade show, if that becomes unavailable, I want to be having it sitting on my shelf because that'll be my competitive advantage, and these people will be buying it from the company that has it. So we tried to invest a lot of money for us. I mean, it's all relative. In some larger inventory positions, especially ones that we knew products that didn't come from, that weren't from stateside. And then you also tried to vet alternative suppliers. So you tried to find, all right, if we're getting our blackback soft native, that's an imported product that comes from China, is there a domestic mill that can make it that we can build a relationship with? But we're fortunate in that a lot of even our raw materials come from the United States. The U.S. flag, what's kind of interesting about the U.S. flag is rule on the U.S. flag, I don't know the actual law, but you can say something's made in the USA if a certain percentage of it comes from the USA. The U.S. flag has to be 100% made in the USA, including all the grease goods. So like the raw cotton has to be picked in a U.S. cotton field. It's got to be milled at a U.S. mill. The ink's got to be manufactured in the U.S. So the U.S. flag, 100% of the stuff you see in the U.S. flag is made in the United States, which from a supply chain perspective has helped.
Good morning, Brian. Definitely Karen is the lovely one, so give kudos to her. I've had the privilege of touring your facility, amazing facility, and just incredible, inspiring culture that you've created. Where is your source of inspiration? What do you read? What do you think about? What sources do you draw upon for your ideas?
I get it all from Karen. So what do I read? I'm an extrovert by nature. I get my inspiration from my employees and just connecting with them. That's what drives me. In terms of what I read, I try to listen to, if I'm not on the phone when I'm driving, I'm listening to Audible. I used to listen to, 10 years ago, I used to listen to sports talk radio, and my wife pointed out that I think Terrell Owens was doing sit-ups in a driveway, and she's like, this is just People magazine for sports. I'm like, it's kind of a waste of time. I'm like, oh, okay. So I'll try to listen to business books. I love HBR. I find the Harvard Business Review as a publication I always pick up some good tips from it. For us on social media platforms, we've generated a lot of new business from LinkedIn just by staying active on LinkedIn and talking about, sharing our story. And then I've picked up some good tips from there as well. But
Brian, you're always such an inspiration in terms of growth and resilience. I love that. Here's my question. As you look at growth, how do you balance opportunities and risk?
That's a tough question, Karen. Can you come answer it? So my goal is from a risk, I own 100% of Olympus. From a risk factor, I don't want to do anything. I'm not going to take a big enough risk that it would expose the entire business and expose our employees. So I will, there's some, depending on the situation. So right now, for example, I believe we're in our industry, we're in a really unique position to grow top line. And we're in a unique position to grow top line because our markets, the live event market, like a lot of our customers, has completely changed. Competitors didn't make it, customers didn't make it, there's new contacts. So I believe there's an opportunity right now, and that's why we've opened these facilities, that's why we're investing, we're taking a lot of risk, and we're not focused on bottom line, we're focused on growing our top line to build new relationships and build these contacts now and grow these relationships. Eventually I'll have to work on, my CFO will have me by the neck if I don't start working on bottom line as well. So we will assess risks based off of like our market conditions and where we think the market is. In terms of how much risk we're willing to take, I will take as much. We'll take a bunch of risk. We'll take big inventory positions. We'll buy a couple $100,000 worth of PETG to make these shields, as long as it's not going to potentially expose the business. So not enough that it would be we won't do anything that could potentially be a death blow. Very unsophisticated entrepreneur's answer to that question. Sorry.
And I have a question from Beth Heller, who texted it in. What is the most unusual, bizarre, memorable product that you've made?
So the most unusual product, we've made some really funny ones from kidneys. We made a uterus mascot for cancer prevention, where we've done a 2-person mastodon for, I think it was Wheaton, one of the colleges in Illinois, it may have been Wheaton. Which was interesting because if you think about the mascots, like, all right, you try out to be the mascot. Well, I'm the head. Which one are you? I'm the rear end of the mastodon for the mascot. So that was kind of an interesting one. I don't know. There's so many fun characters and mascots we've done. It's been yeah.
You just said that you own the company. Are you considering an IPO or employee ownership down the road?
So when I onboard our employees, I tell them they have a piece of the company. And they have a piece of the company because we pay out our profits. So it's almost like a dividend to them. And the more money we make, the bigger dividend they get. And the way we do it is very egalitarian. Everyone gets the exact same amount. If we hit $1.6 million, everyone gets $1,200. If we hit $1.9 million in profit, everyone gets $2,000. And doesn't matter if you're a seamstress. Obviously, other salespeople and executives have different bonus plans. But I like that offer. Would I ever consider? I'd consider an ESOP at some point if I ever wanted to exit. But frankly, I'm having a lot of fun right now. I like the team. I like what we're doing. I like what we're building. So And I like the flexibility of owning the business because I got a call last night, employee who I really like, one of our seamstresses in Colorado, got in a car accident. She's fine. Car's totaled. She's got a bunch of medical bills. She said, "Hey, Brian, can the company loan me $1,000? Like, I don't know how I'm going to make ends meet. We'll loan her $1,000, no interest. She can pay it back whenever she wants." And the nice part for us is we're helping someone else out. We're helping her out in a time of need. And then in return, I guarantee you she's gonna be more engaged because we helped her out when we really needed her. And when she needed us, we helped her out. And when we need her, I like to think, not doing it because of it, but you like to think she has our back. So the flexibility I have, if I'm owned by somebody else or there's other people involved, I kind of have to bounce that off of other people. Otherwise, last night it was literally me asking, "What is your Venmo account? I will Venmo you $1,000 and set up a repayment schedule."
Hi, I just wanted you to know I really enjoyed your presentation. I have one question, and it has to do with a request I made several decades ago when I worked for an amusement park that had numerous mascots. Do you offer recommended specs for what's required of a mascot user, like weight, lift requirements, length of time to be in the the costume, anything like that?
Yeah, so we have specific guidelines that we will share. There's no hard and fast rules, right? Like if you're going to have a 55-year-old mascot performer like myself, who's out of shape now, versus when I was 22, I can be in that costume in 100-degree weather a lot longer when I was 22 years old. We would typically say you don't stay in costume for more than 45 minutes, but if you're down in Orlando at Disney, it might be 15 minutes in the summer. There are height suggestions, and those would have more to do with the size of the characters. So we do all the Jellystone campground mascots. So Yogi, Boo Boo, Cindy Bear, Ranger, and Yogi better be taller than Cindy, who better be taller than Boo Boo, because that's what the character's supposed to look like. If you have a Yogi that was 5'4" and a Cindy Bear that was 6'3", that would look odd. So we will try to create, and then the costumes have to fit too. If someone's 6'6", you're wearing, it's essentially clothes. I mean, it's a type of clothes, baggier, but if someone's 6'6" and someone's 4'8", they're not going to fit in the same size costume. So we'll have some height requirements. Lift restrictions, I mean, most of them aren't lifting anything, so not really. But
I asked because many decades ago, I wanted to be a mascot at an amusement park I worked in. They didn't let girls do it back then because we couldn't carry the mascot and we didn't have the ability to sustain wearing one for a long time. So
yeah,
I'm glad.
yeah. There's been female Bucky Badgers. There's all sorts of I don't think the females can be mascots now. All right, thanks, guys.